to Wales. Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Foderingham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box for Doffin, he can hit them, and he does. The Doffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Bit of a deja vu. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast, and those weather-controlling Millers are back at it again with another game postponed, stopped because of the rain. We'll talk about the events on Friday night. Who's at fault? It's Rotherham United, obviously. And we've thankfully got another game. Thankfully, we've got to look ahead to Wednesday night when Coventry come to New York Stadium. So, yeah, see if we can get an hour out of that, shall we? Mick, how are you doing?
I'm all good, mate. Thank you. All good, thank you. You?
Very, very good. Thank you very much. And Danny, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Before we get the ball rolling about whose fault it is that the game got called off, I just want to say a little shout out to the people who were in the Woodman earlier. So surprise, Levi and Caden. Here's your shout out, and thank you for your custom at the Woodman today. I hope you enjoyed your food.
Mick, wave.
Oh, sorry. Hello.
Got to make an effort with these kind of things. You know what I mean?
I'd also like to say sorry for being very awkward about being recognised at work. I'm not used to it.
No. So let's start, Danny. So when the inevitable EFL investigation comes through, because, you know, it's Rotherham United again, what excuse should Rotherham United use as to why it's always and only Rotherham United that get games postponed?
I think we should use the excuse that Sky didn't read the fine print that said they had to clear the drains before the game started, and that's why it got called off, because it's not our fault this time.
It's never our fault. No. I'll have that, yeah. If anybody's checked Twitter, I know I get what happened with Cardiff, Mick, last season, but it's mad, absolutely mad, that Cardiff fans are coming up and commenting on a game that has nothing to do with them and getting upset, it appears, that we had the absolute audacity to have a road flooded near the stadium.
I mean, to be fair, if they actually were getting upset, then it'd be great, wouldn't it? But they're not, are they? You know, they're just trying to poke. They're just trying to poke the whatever it is they're trying to poke. I guess, I don't know, it's a sign of the times, isn't it? But it's also a sign of sad indictments on these people that find it necessary to comment on it, that how little they've got going off in their lives, isn't it? You know what I mean? Yeah, pathetic. I mean, it is pathetic, but there is no other word to describe it, really, but, you know, whatever.
We should say in all the seriousness, obviously, we're going to have a laugh and joke about everything, but obviously, if you see the flooding around Rotherham, and not just Rotherham, in certain areas, there's homes that have been destroyed because of these flooding things. So there are more important things than Rotherham. We are fully aware. I just want to mention that we are fully aware of that, and we're going to have a laugh and joke because we're the best. It's what we do. And yeah, I hope everybody's all right, because I've seen the videos and pictures of the flooding in and around Rotherham it's terrible, to be honest with you. So hope everybody's all right with that. Mate, let's sort of play. I'll sort of run down the day, and then we'll see if there is anybody. We'll see where we go. The club initially tweeted in the morning that the game's going to be on. There's going to be no issues with the pitch. Everything's going to be absolutely fine. Which is essentially a green light to everybody. Certainly to Ipswich fans, crack on, basically. Come to New York Stadium. The rain continued. There was no suggestion, and up to now there are no suggestions that there was anything wrong with the pitch. And according to the club statement, there was an emergency meeting about 4:30 on Friday because the banks of the Don had burst and the bottom road that leads up to New York Stadium had flooded. Then I think it was the City Advisory Group and the council made a decision that it was unsafe not to play the game, but for fans to get to the stadium at all. And it was just an unsafe environment, basically. Is there what's your takeaway? What with these scenarios, it's all about learning for next time, and if there's anything that could have been done better. Is there anything that anybody could have done better to keep fans, especially Ipswich fans, maybe updated with the dangers of any potential postponement, or should it have been called off earlier? Full stop.
There's a number of points there, a number of questions, aren't there? To blame the club is just, I mean, it's beyond bizarre, really. The club have no input into this, zero input. The only input the club have is to whether the stadium is open and whether the pitch is playable. Both those things were fine as far as the club are concerned. The Safety Advisory Group, Rotherham Council, South Yorkshire Police are the ones ultimately are going to make the decision as to whether it's safe for members of the public to attend. Council being kind of top of that list on the basis that if anybody does get injured, they're the ones that are going to be liable. So if you want to throw your muck at anybody, those are the people to be throwing the muck at. But it's clearly not safe. It clearly wasn't safe up until the point up until sort of an hour before it was the actual announcement was made. It was safe. So what are these people supposed to do? It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense why people are blaming the club. Rotherham United supporters, alleged Rotherham United supporters, blaming the club. I mean, that blows my mind. Unless you're travelling from outside of Rotherham as a Rotherham United fan, the fact that the game was called off at 5 o'clock, or what it was 5 o'clock, wasn't it? The fact that the game was called off at 5 o'clock should have no impact on you whatsoever. And not only that, as Ipswich fans, if we're travelling to Ipswich and Storm, whatever it is battering East Anglia, I might possibly take a bit of responsibility myself and have a look. And then it's on me, innit? It's on me whether I make that decision to travel or not. And to be fair, a lot of Ipswich fans are saying exactly the same, But once school kicks out and everybody gets the phones back, they all start banging on, don't they, on Twitter and on social media, and trying to find somebody to blame, trying to find somebody to sack, and it's just pathetic. It is pathetic beyond words. As far as in my opinion, I'm not saying, that's just my view. The club, the council, the Safety Advisory Group, definitely Sky, nobody wanted the game to be called off. Given the circumstances, the game had to be called off. It had to be. They had no option. They had to leave it as late as they possibly could. They didn't know whether or not it was going to continue to get worse. The forecast was that it was going to continue raining, but nobody knew because nobody, unfortunately, has a crystal ball. So there's been flood defences put in place in Sheffield, in Rotherham, and other areas to try and prevent these things happening. Back from 2007, this is the first time we've had anything like it since then. And they clearly were hoping that they were going to work. They didn't work, or they didn't work effectively. So I don't know what to say, really. It's just the way it is nowadays, and somebody's got to be to blame for causing me a hurting my little feelings, because it made me have to think for myself as to whether I were going to do something or not. Just grow up. For me, grow up. It's just, like I said, you buy a ticket for an away game, don't you? And it's your responsibility to work out, one, whether you're going to be able to get there, two, how you're going to get there. And you've got no control over what happens at the other end. Just like the people who made the decision ultimately had no control over what was happening. And the club certainly didn't have any control over it. So, listen, if you want to bleat away about it, I mean, it's second tier podder on it now, aren't they? Saying,
are they?
Oh, yeah.
I muted them a long time ago.
Absolute clowns. But listen, you've got to take responsibility for yourself, ultimately. If you travelled, given the information that's available to you, then I've got no sympathy, really.
What I will also say is that calling a game off, and I know Ipswich is quite a long way away, but 3 hours notice to cancel a game is a reasonable time, to be honest with you. If this was a 3 o'clock kickoff and the game was called off at 12 o'clock, it would be better, Danny, if they could have called it off early. It would have been perfect. Had they known at midday that the river was going to burst its banks, if we knew for certain that was going to happen, then that would have been great. We could have told everybody. But 3 hours is still a reasonable time to let people know. You know, they're not in stadium having a pint like has been the case for other clubs in other situations. I think, yeah, I don't really get the uproar, to be honest with you. It's mad.
It's as if Ipswich fans have expected us to get the crystal ball out and gone, oh yes, the Don's going to burst its banks. We need to call the game off. And I've done that at Friday morning. This is the thing. I mean, the Don had burst its banks before the club had conversation with the safety advisory group. So they had those conversations when that happened. There was no foresight, because how could you have the foresight that the Don was going to get that full?
I don't think he's ever done that while we've been at New York either. This is not a regular thing. I don't think that's ever happened while we've been there. No,
like this harks back to like 2007-ish time, you know, when we had the massive floods around this way. I think that's the last time the Don properly burst its banks, at least at that part. And, you know, we spent all this money on the flood defences as well and raising that bridge, but it still happened. So that just goes to show the volume of water. But no one really could have predicted that would have happened. And we had the conversation more or less straight away when it was bursting its banks. And it wasn't the club that came to that decision because, like Matt Taylor said to Sky themselves, the pitch was playable. You know, by some miracle, the ground staff had the pitch playable. So stick that in your trumpet card. If we could have played the game, if it wasn't for the Don bursting its banks. But I think it leans more towards a council decision and public safety, which, all right, fair enough. It could have closed on the street and had no access whatsoever. But then you've got Rotherham fans and Ipswich fans all being bottlenecked up New York way. And I think Ipswich were bringing a fair number with them.
Sellout.
Yeah, exactly. Or a sellout. So that also plays into public safety. There's no other public access to the stadium other than New York Way if Don Street's shut. So the safest thing was to call the game off because just for fan safety, which I completely get. So to put the club at fault for it is ridiculous. You know, I've seen the thing from Second Tier Podcast, and they've said it's, you know, the club should have done more.
I've muted them. What have they said? I'm not.
They basically just said what a lot of people have said. Like, it's the club's fault. Blah blah blah. Decision should have been made sooner. And it's like, yes, let's get the crystal ball out, and it's going to tell you that the River Don's going to burst its banks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, should we blame Sheffield Wednesday for calling games off when Hillsborough flooded? You know, because they're built next to the River Don as well. You know, it's ridiculous. You know, I mean, the whole foresight of, oh, you've built your stadium next to the river. Yeah, because it's prime location. You know what I mean? Rivers flood, get over it. You know what I mean? It's one game of football that just so happens to have been against a team that probably has just over 3 hours travel to get here anyway. You know, I feel sorry for the Ipswich fans that were already in town when the game got called off. But if it's in the interest of public safety, then you can't really complain about it. You know, and like Mick said earlier, you know, it's their decision to travel to the game, and there is still that risk of something getting called off. You know, there was a risk of the Plymouth game getting called off when I travelled down a couple seasons ago. It didn't, but there's still that element of risk, and that's the risk that we all take when we go to football. There is a slim chance the game will get called off. And when you've had a week's worth of rain in 2 hours, like not to go, you know, tough titty about it, but we decided to travel when it looked like the game could have been called off.
Yeah,
it's a very harsh reality for me, and I apologise for that, but it's just like tough titty. You know what I mean? It got called off for your own safety, and you complain about it. I had a jokey complaint, like I've got no plans for the rest of the evening, but I didn't cry on Twitter about it. You know what I mean? I just had one.
Why not, though, Danny? Why not?
Why not, Danny?
Because it's silly. It's silly to complain on social media. It feels like everybody else does it, and it's just painfully energy sapping. Seeing people complain on social media, it's just, game got called off, move on, and we're playing Ipswich on a Tuesday night at some point.
Probably. Well, before we're not going to move on from the rain talk yet, but the fact it should have been on Sky may complicate the rearrangement because Sky will still want that on telly, and Sky will not want it on telly that clashes with the Champions League night, probably going forward. So there's going to be potential more complications to when the game is aired, potentially. Mick.
Let's just not also gloss over the fact that Sky TV will have had some input into when this game was cancelled.
Yes.
Make no mistake about that. But again, let's just blame club.
What I want to ask, Mick, is the game was called off because Don Street was flooded and it was inaccessible. I remember last season or the season before, Don Street was closed for about 6 months. And all those games were still played. We all went down New York way. It was very inconvenient, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
So again, this isn't a dig at the club, but I was confused and I haven't seen any pictures anywhere else of the stadium, so I might be wrong. But if that was the only problem, that was the only flooding of the surrounding area, I am confused why that was.
I think the South Stand car park was quite flooded as well.
There we go. That's what I wanted to know.
There was no
Rotherham Council. Rotherham Council.
There's no entrance into the club.
New York Way.
No vehicle in other than New York Way. Yeah. So it would have been a nightmare. And once the river's burst its banks, you don't know how it's going to go there. You've no idea.
Good point.
So
yeah. And another way to pass the blame is if Sky hadn't moved the game and it was at 3:00 on a Saturday, the game would probably have gone ahead because we've not had any rain through Saturday. It was I assume the rain went down a little bit. Somebody else to blame. And Matt Taylor's already spoke about it. Matt Taylor's already spoken about frustrating how unhappy he was that they want the game to go ahead. First game for 2 weeks, of course, the international break as well. Yeah, really frustrating, but that's football, isn't it?
Like I say, it's frustrating but tough, titty.
Yeah, basically. Palmer says he's glad that the game was called off because he's got pneumonia, can't get to any other. Get well soon, Palmer.
Yeah, get well soon.
Shelley says, can't believe Ipswich fans are that daft to think that we could predict the future. Yeah.
Well, they play in blue, so they're in line with Cardiff fans now, aren't they?
Yeah, Cardiff, Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday. There's a theme with this.
And what colour's water stereotypically? It's blue. Funny
Chris Page says, hi all. Same if it was winter and snow is forecast. Do you travel to the game? Do you take that risk to go to the game? The heavy game was forecast.
Hang on though. This is But Chris, we've got a record that we control snow as well. Do you remember when we played Derby and it got called off like the hour before kickoff because of heavy snow?
That were rain as well.
Yeah, because didn't it get called off for snow, then get called off for rain for a waterlogged pitch?
Yeah,
and then Wayne Rooney went a very funny red colour and it got played 24 hours after the second rearrangement.
Good old Wazza.
Yeah.
And
he's gone to a club that plays in blue as well. That's him complaining next.
Another blue team.
Hello, John, by the way.
Tom O on Twitter says, evening, fellows. Definitely the club's fault. Cardiff fans saw stewards in the Don throwing buckets of water into the road. So there's no doubt at all whose fault it was. Shelley says, didn't you know that Rotherham is the epicentre of the weather? And all bad things, I would add to that, Shelley, and all bad things that can happen in football, it's Rotherham United at fault.
Yeah.
Now we've got that out of the way and blamed us for something. I just want to mention quickly, I saw Jensen on Twitter saying he's feeling a bit down at the minute. If anybody is on Twitter wants to send Jensen a lovely message or tell him how much he's great, do so, because I think he's feeling a bit down at the moment. So please do so if you haven't done already, because I know some people already have.
He's a good lad, Jensen, and he's a good mate of mine. So Jensen, you know where I am, mate. You know where I am if you want to chat about anything. But yeah, we all feel down sometimes, don't we, lads? And sometimes a little message off someone and picks us up a little bit. So yeah, just hope everything's all right, man.
100% with you, mate. Mick, let's move on because the weekend results probably didn't pan out as we would have hoped. We now sit 6 points adrift. We do have obviously the game in hand, which is Ipswich Town. That's a lot of points in October to be behind. This run between now and the next international break it's quite early to say season defining. But if we don't come out of this with some wins, we're going to be in bother. You've got Coventry up next, who have had we'll come on to them in a minute, but they've had a really average start. You've got Sheffield Wednesday, who we know the state that they're in. You've got QPR, and we all know the state that they're in. And you've got Watford, who have had, to say an average start would be a bit of an understatement. These next 4 games, is season defining too early to say that, or we could be 9-12 points adrift if we don't pick up wins?
I think I don't know. I don't like that phrase, to be honest. But the issue is that there's a psychological issue that comes along once you are cut adrift, and we're not far off that now. And I can't get my head around that fact at all, given the way we're capable of playing. So they're very, very, very important games, and we need points out of these. And as you've rightly said, all 4 of these teams have had somewhere between bang average and absolutely awful starts to the season. So we have to pick the points up. However, our issue as a club at this level has always been picking points up from teams around us. That's always been our issue. That's one of the things that we need to be getting over now, and hopefully starting on Wednesday night, because we can't afford to be cut adrift any further than we are already. We absolutely can't.
Yeah, obviously it was a late winner by Watford, I think, that sort of pushed it away. But then it kept Wednesday. If Wednesday pick up something, then Wednesday could sort of go above us. Thankfully, QPR are not very good. Danny, go on. What are your thoughts on this, mate? Because it's John Z is saying obviously he comes in from a neutral point of view, saying sadly the bottom 3 are looking in real trouble. The bottom 3 are getting cut adrift. This does happen in the Championship. You can get 3 teams who just look so much poorer than the rest, points-wise. QPR are 4 points adrift, we're 6. Sheffield Wednesday are 9 points adrift. We thankfully have a game in hand. Plymouth have dropped significantly since a decent start. But it's a massive area of concern at the minute.
It is. I think on paper it is a concern, because I think a lot of fans are now thinking of where's the next win going to come from, which I think is a running theme with us in the Championship in most years, to be fair. But football is one of those sports where you put a few runs together and you're right back in it. I mean, for example, look at Middlesbrough. I mean, I know it's a different kettle of fish to Rotherham, don't get me wrong, but Middlesbrough sat bottom for a long, long time this season, and then suddenly bang, they're in 13th, because they put a bit of a run together. I know it's ifs and maybes, but if we'd have put in a strong performance against Ipswich and got something, that could have been the start of a run for us. Because we've been saying for a bit, it's a lack of confidence. We got a bit of confidence back from Southampton. And maybe that was the start of something. But on the flip side, we've been crying out for a bit of luck. Maybe the luck was the weather, and we got the Ipswich game called off so we can get more players back from injury and get them back running a bit better, and not have such a heavy workload straight back after international break, with it being Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday. Now it's just Wednesday, Sunday. But yeah, looking at the bottom end of the Championship, I mean, I think we all thought QPR would be a bit iffy this season. Yeah. They were either going to be astronomical or struggle. Wednesday's just a circus, and I mean, right, with the best intentions, it is a circus. And that Watford game encapsulated how much of a circus it was, with the penalty that got disallowed, and then Watford ended up winning. It's just that I've said this on Radio Sheffield, we need to focus on who's above us, not below us. That's the form.
Because there's only one below us.
Yeah, exactly. So focus on who's above you, and your focus should be catching that person, and then you bump up again. It's like, right, who's next? Always look up, not down, because if you look down, you get fixated on it, and you end up just sitting there with them anyway. But if you keep looking up and how high you could go, that's where you can progress from it. And hopefully the building confidence comes quickly, and we can actually do that. Because I think we're all happy with, as long as there's 3 teams below us, we're happy. But I still think, why focus on just having 3 below you when you can have a look at the rest of the 20 teams that are above you?
I like your optimism.
Just push as high as you can. Push as high as you can, and if it's 23rd, it's 23rd. If it's 14th, it's 14th.
Yeah, we were dreaming of a mid-table finish, weren't we? Now we're dreaming of 23rd.
There's still, I know this is optimism talking, and it might be a Guinness as well, but there's always time.
There's always time. If it gets to 9 and 12 points when you're 15 games in, which it will be 15 games in, that's then a big issue. Because everybody else is picking up wins and picking up points here and there. You know, Watford had a poor start. They've picked up a win against the team that's down there. Huddersfield have picked up their first win under Darren Moore. Plymouth, I know, like I said, they've dropped off a bit, but they've shown that they can pick up wins. We've shown that we can pick up a win, Mick. Let's compare, because as Rotherham fans, we've had two of the worst championship seasons almost ever. Back in 2004, and then the Alan Stubbs season. Let's compare it, because I imagine we were in similar situations this time of the season. How do you feel compared to those seasons? Because I understand how points work, but it's mad to me that we're in this position because we haven't been that bad in a lot of these games. We had some bad games. We haven't been that bad in a lot of them. We're just not picking up points, aren't we? I suppose.
No, we haven't been that bad, particularly at home. Away from home, there have been occasions when we've been dreadful, but we've had horrific injuries, all to the same part of the pitch as well. You know, then it's not like it's spread out. It's not like we've got 4 or 5 key players across the team that are spread out, that are injured and out. You know, it's all defenders, which is obviously causing us a problem. We've played a lot of teams who are currently in form. Having said that, we've managed to get results against most of them, with the exception of Leicester at home. But the quality of the squad is better than it's ever been at any stage, in my view, throughout any of our seasons in the Championship. The issue we've got is that the Championship is a higher quality, and the quality is higher this year than it's ever been when we've been in it before. So it's a perfect storm at the moment. Yeah. But once we get the injuries back, and if we can get a little bit of momentum going, I'm still happy that we'll be all right come May. At the moment, however, if the injuries continue to pile up and the performances away from home don't improve, then we are in massive trouble. So that's why I think this run of 4 games here coming up before the next international break are key to us in order to try and just make sure that we don't get cut adrift completely. If we can get a couple of three wins out of it, would be be amazing. It puts back in contention, boost the confidence a little bit, and hopefully by the time the next international break is ended, some of those injuries will have healed, shall we say?
Yeah, I think that the gap's right. We're 6 points. If anybody can pick up a couple of wins in a row in this division, not many teams can pick up 3 wins in a row, 4 wins out of 5, 5 wins out of 6. So that's why that gap's obviously crucial. Chris Page, psychologically, that gap is big already. Yeah. Shirley says the big issue is that last season there were 4 or 5 teams worse than us. This season there aren't yet. I would add yet to that. John Wells says, sadly, the competitive championship is the most competitive it's been in a very long time. Being okay. Mike says might not be enough. It won't be enough. Shirley says performances away from home will start improving from Sunday.
Oh, God.
We'll talk about that later on in the week. Paramount says you need to believe in yourself to win, and going by Matt Taylor's interview, he's not feeling the belief. Harvey Kelly says, think the fans need to start getting behind the team a bit. Yeah, I think that's certainly part of it. Probably a very small part of it, but I think we need to. The home atmosphere could do with improving as well.
Well, there's a lot of that in there, you know, and this weekend's been a prime example of it. You know, Rotherham fans cannot wait. Some Rotherham fans cannot wait to climb all over social media and criticise the club. You know, it's bizarre, and that sort of thing. And I know this happens with all of the clubs. I'm not saying it's just us. I'm absolutely positive. I know that it happens to clubs across the country. It's bizarre that the first port of call is to have a pop at your own club, whether it's your own manager, your own players, or the club itself. I just can't. I don't understand you know, and Harvey's absolutely right. We need to be getting behind the team, getting behind the club, supporting the club. After all, that's what we are, supporters. Bizarre, but anyway, sorry.
No, that's fine. Freezing for you with a bit of positivity. Huddersfield were bad and Stoke were bad, but we should have had points against Blackburn. Sunderland were dominating until Doffin went off. Matched Leicester as well. He said the next 5 games we play against the bottom 6 teams, so we should stop panicking. Fair enough. John Morell wants to ask you a question, Danny. This is coming to you. With the 6 points a gap, to what point do you have to serious questions over the manager?
When the gap's 12 points.
Okay, that could be by end of next weekend, mate. We could be sitting here 7 days' time, 12 points adrift.
Well, I mean, a gap of 6 points is, like I said before, that's a swing results your way and you're backing it straight away. That's 2 losses for one team, 2 wins for you. If you want to draw it out a bit longer, then fair enough. But it's when the gap really gets big, you know, like probably like 9+. That's when it's a bit of that's a tall order. You know, not
play devil's advocate though, Danny. Is 9 points too much? Because then somebody's got to come in and get that. Again, I'm certainly not the Taylor out camp, but is 9 points enough for any manager to go in and save that?
It'd be, like I say, it'd be a tall order, but you know, that's the corporate decision. Do you stick and hope it turns around, or do you twist and then hope somebody else pulls it round for you? The one club's already twisted, which I actually think is the correct decision, to be fair, with Chef Wednesday changing the manager. But we've also shown that the twist doesn't work immediately. And I think with the amount of injuries we've got at the minute, we'd be silly to twist, because the manager who comes in will have the exact same issues that the manager's got at the minute. You know, so we'd be silly to.
Fair point. Shelley says Agent Warnock would turn it around. Possibly.
Does he fancy saving Rotherham one more time, or has he already got that ribbon on his wall?
He's already done it once, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's done it twice. He's done it with Huddersfield as well.
True. Very true. Let's move forward to Coventry. Coventry come to town on Wednesday night, Mick. Back to the normal kickoff time at 7:45. They have had a very, very average start to the season. Obviously, they lost in the playoff final last season. They were a couple of penalties away from being a Premier League club. They lost Gyökeres. They lost Harmer, who's gone to Sheffield United. They have spent a lot of money, but they haven't spent it. They spent 20 million quid, but that's all come from transfer sales. They think they sit 15, 3 wins this season. They beat Borough when Borough were rubbish. They beat Blackburn and they beat QPR. Obviously, QPR are very, very rubbish. I was worried when I saw a fixture list a couple of weeks ago. I think Coventry's coming up soon. I'm a bit concerned about that. But then you look at their form overall and you're thinking, right, they haven't clicked yet. And I think they will at some point. We might still be meeting them at the right time, hopefully.
Well, possibly, but they won on Saturday, didn't they? Which is not great.
They lost, didn't they?
Sorry, they lost on Saturday. Apologies. Yeah, they lost on Saturday, which is not great. What could I do with them winning? Because obviously losing 2 games on the trot is not something that teams often do at this level, particularly teams that of the quality that they've got. So we could have done with them getting some sort of result, but it's about us. It's about us, and it's about whether or not we can field a team that's competitive in the areas that suit the players that are playing, if that makes sense. You know, a competitive defence, a competitive midfield, and a competitive forward line, which hopefully we can do. And if we can, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. We're at home. We've been very, very good at home for the bulk of the time. But they've got somebody else, haven't they? Another big name that's just coming back from injury. I think I can't remember who it is. I don't know. Anyway, it's irrelevant, really. It's irrelevant. Ultimately, it's down to us. It's down to us to put a performance in on the pitch and off the pitch as supporters as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. We could list. They've got on paper some excellent players with this sign, but like I said, it's just not clicked. John Morell says they can't score. They seem to play really well, but just can't put a chance where they battered Bristol City at the weekend. I think it was similar against Huddersfield on telly. They played pretty well, but just couldn't finish the dinner. We give teams chances, Danny. That's the thing. And I think when we played Preston, we were worried because Preston don't create many chances, but they were very, very clinical. We pick up a draw. Coventry seem to create a lot of chances, don't score very many. That just sums up the championship, really. No idea what's going to happen. It could be anything. It could be 4-0 to them. We could win 3-0. It's just the Coventry are a typical championship team from that sense. I think it feels like.
Yeah, in a sense, I think they are. Like you said, they create lots of chances, but don't really put them away. So as Oslo dictates, so they're going to put all of them away against us, but only have about 3 chances or 3 shots on target. But then looking at the stats, apparently we create a lot of chances. We just don't shoot. It's like we get into plenty of attacking positions, but do bugger all. So logic dictates that against someone like Cardiff, which is your quote unquote stereotypical championship team, we'll create few chances, but somehow win 1-0. You know what I mean? That is the roundabout of the championship. And the roundabout of football, really. Like, you'll beat someone and then they'll beat you, but then the team that you lost to will lose to the team that you beat. You know what I mean? It's that weird triangle of football. I think that's what keeps us all hooked on football, to be fair. So, yeah, it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a classic against again. Oh, I nearly did it again. Like last year, calling them Cardiff instead of Coventry. Good grief. It's not going to be a classic against Coventry, but I think it'll be one where one team leaves happy and the other team feels a bit hard done by. I just hope that plays into our favour like the weather does sometimes.
Teams always expect to beat us, don't they? So even if they draw, they won't be happy with it, will they?
But would we be happy with the draw, though? That's the question.
No.
Circumstances depending on it, I think, with that one. The circumstances of the game, potentially. Shelley says, Ollie is one booking away. We need him for both games, obviously, but do you need him more for Sunday? Ollie Rathbone's a booking away from one match with suspension. And he's going to get suspended for one of these, 3 games after Wednesday, mate, because he's Ollie Rathbone. He's going to get a booking. At some point, he's going to miss a very, very crucial game over the next couple of weeks. And that's just the nature of the beast, I suppose. Or do you think Matt Taylor should be clever in selection or just get on winning if booking it's a booking?
I mean, if he had the players, he could be clever, couldn't he? But he hasn't got the players to do it. You just slot Jamie Lindsay in there. Like for like, job's a good one. Unfortunately, he can't do that. So I don't think there'll be any question as to whether Ollie Rathbone plays on Wednesday night. We'll just have to hope that the referee's not card happy. Which I'm sorry, I forgot we were playing in Championship. Apologies. So he'll be missing for Sunday. We'll have to deal with it, won't we? We'll just have to deal with it.
The referee is coming up. Lewis Smith is the referee, or scheduled referee.
Never heard of him.
I've never heard of him either. I'll very quickly just have a quick Google of him while Mick talks about the Stevenage penalty foul that wasn't given at the weekend, which I'm sure everybody's seen on Twitter. How much it must have been really weird for Steve Evans to be on the right side of a refereeing mistake, Mick, because it was just comedy gold, wasn't it?
Absolute comedy gold. If you haven't seen it, I think I retweeted it yesterday on Saturday. It's definitely worth looking at. It is just one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen in football. The defender, to say he cleans out the attacker is really not. He's really doing the defender a disservice. He almost somersaults him in the air after taking the and gets a goal kick out of it, bizarrely. But anyway, yeah, well worth a watch if you can see that.
Agreed. I can't see that Mr. Smith has ever refereed Rotherham United before, so that's something we don't have anything to do, anything to talk about. That John says he will get a booking from a dodgy ref call just to cause a Mick rant. That is probably true.
Don't know what you mean.
Danny, obviously this comes through in terms of the centre half issues. Peltier is obviously available. So is Sean Morrison. Matt Taylor said that neither of them will be able to complete 90 minutes, is basically what he said. We also then have a Dauphin who can play there, not his best position, and he's so impactful, if that's a word, in the attacking position. But we're probably going to have to put a Dauphin there, and I'm intrigued to see how it works. We saw him in a couple of friendlies, but you can't judge that. How would you feel Haxel doing that centre-half role
I think Hacks is quite a versatile player. He's definitely improved being a bit more attacking orientated under Matt Taylor, but sometimes you get asked to do a job in a certain position and you have to start again. You have to give it your best and have to do it. Like, do you remember when Ben Wiles used to play left midfield, and left winger? It wasn't the best, but he did the job there.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a case of going 3 at the back like we did against Southampton at times, where we have only one centre half in the middle, and if Peltz or Morrison can't complete 90 minutes between them, it's going to have to be tactical of, potentially starting Morrison and then having the grit of Peltier later on in the game, or vice versa. Or, it's a difficult one to work out. I think if we were playing Saturday to Sunday, then one of them would do 90 minutes. But I think with the Wednesday game thrown in against Coventry, that's where the whole mitigating fitness has to come into it. And I think it will be Peltier starting and Morrison coming in later, just because Peltier is that little bit more match fit, if that makes sense. Grant Hall just had to get a dodgy hip injury, didn't he? You know what I mean? He just had to, didn't he? But I think if needs be, Hacks can do the job there, which is something good to have. But it's in the same sense of, if needs be, Cohen Bramwell can play left centre back.
Revan as well. Somebody's put in comments. Revan can do a job left centre back as well, I think.
Exactly.
The good thing that Hacks will give you, Mick, if you do choose to go to forward, I'm not convinced of. If you're going to put an unnatural centre back there, I'm not convinced a 4 is the right way to go. But if it was, Hacks has got that pace, hasn't he? Hacks has got that pace that Humphreys has got. It covers the ground so well. On paper, he should be very good at centre half because he's got that physicality, he's got that pace and everything else. It's a specialised position. So to chuck somebody in there it's going to be difficult against. John Morrell mentioned Elias Simmons as an excellent Championship player. That's a massive test for somebody like a Dauphin.
Yeah, it is. It is. But we know what he's like. He's up for challenging, that lad. He is absolutely up for the challenge. And I had a full confidence in him playing in that position, or any other position for that matter. He's like Danny said earlier on, he's incredibly versatile. So we'll have to wait and see. I can't see why Peltz won't do the 90 minutes. He did the 90 minutes at Southampton.
Yeah. I thought that was odd.
I don't see why that wouldn't be an issue. Why that would be an issue. So
he may have done the 90 minutes because we had the international break, though.
Play 4 days later, don't we? Whatever it is.
Well, yeah, we'll have to see, won't we? We'll have to see how that pans out. That's a headache for Matt Taylor. But having said that, he also knows the fitness levels of all the other players as well. So let's not concern ourselves with that until Wednesday night.
Can we play Tom Eaves at centre half just for laugh? Have him up against Sims. That'd be quite funny.
Should do that on Sunday instead.
To be fair, if you did, neither of them would win a free kick, would they?
True.
Yeah,
just
true.
Both cancel each other out. So, I'm not going to hit big lad and I'm not going to hit big lad. So,
it'd play on.
Well, it's really fine, that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. We've got our lineup predictions. I've just used the same ones that we put in for Saturday because everybody said the same. Is there any temptation, Danny? No, I know that a Dauphin, obviously Mick put a Dauphin as a starter anyway. Are you still happy with Peltier Morrison start if that needs to be, or would you be now tempted to maybe 3 at the back or something else?
I'm going to be quite controversial here, and I'm going to say I'm going to stick because if they need someone physical against Sims, and we want to be like up and at them straight away, and effectively the old cliche of letting him know that you're there. What better than the 2 centre backs who are experienced in this division and who are quite physical orientated up against Sims? So if we play him out the game for long enough, he may get subbed off. But that's the tactical thing for Matt Taylor to think of. But I think Hack's coming in for one of those 2 is a possibility, I think.
Yeah. Wayne's put Tom Eaves emerging as a born-again centre-half and working his way back into the starting 11 just to annoy me. That's the kind of thing I'll be happy for. I've also, I don't know why, on this board, I've put my fullbacks really, really high up compared to you guys. You're having a flat 4 on my fullbacks are really high up. Don't know why that is.
I'll say with yours, Matt, it looks like they're just going to be sat having tea and biscuits with Victor for the whole game.
It does, to be fair, yeah. I think Victor's the only certainty, isn't he? Victor's the only guy we know is going to be playing, because we still don't know what's happening with Andre Green. Because the game difficult, we don't know if people are making stuff up on social media. If he is injured or not. I know. People do that, Mick. People do that. They think of something, put it on Twitter, and it's not even true.
You're joking.
They do.
You're joking.
Yeah. It's mad.
I can't believe that.
Couple of things from Coventry. One win in our last 6 against Coventry. The last win in the Championship or second tier, or is it Division 2? Division 1 it was at the time, was 2003 with goals from Darren Byfield and Sean Barker.
Wow.
So it's quite a while. So it was 20 years. Yeah, Danny, how positive are you feeling? We've talked about a couple of things. How are you feeling going into the game? Are you feeling the same as pre-Ipswich, or because of other results, are you feeling more nervous and more pressure?
I've started falling on the mindset of take one game at a time and get hyped up on the day for it, really. I was quite optimistic before the Ipswich game of something occurring, and then on the day I had the proper adrenaline boost for it, and then it was called off, and that adrenaline went straight out the window, and I was knackered for the rest of the day. But I think for the Coventry game, it's one of those where you sort of go in with the anticipation of being under the cosh a little bit from them. Yeah. But getting behind the team, a bit like Southampton, I went into the Southampton game knowing we'd be under the cosh from them. And it emerged when we played well that the team got fully backed from it. And with a mentality a bit like that against Coventry, maybe the team might get over the line with the fan support, because I saw Harvey's comment earlier that I think we do need to back them a bit better at home. Like I saw a Southampton vlog saying that we cheered a corner like we scored a goal. It's like, and why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? And I think in the second half, especially against Coventry, we should have that sort of mentality.
I hope so. Just want to cover this. Shelley says Jake Hull bringing him back. I think Jake Hull's over the age to bring him in. He's not under 21. I don't think. I might be wrong on that. If you're not under 21, you've got to be registered. I don't think that's the case. We'll check on that. Predictions, Mick. Wednesday night prediction for Coventry.
2-0.
Unbelievable. Does nobody want to back the weather this time, or is it going to be?
That's it. I've thought it through. I've given it hours and hours of consideration, and I'm going for 2-0 of them.
Yeah. Okay. Not Danny.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, lads. I'm going to say I reckon we're going to beat Coventry 3-2.
I can't be taking that on a Wednesday night. That's a lot of stress.
It's exactly what's going to happen with Wednesday night under the lights. Like, we're not really expecting much from the game. Like I've already said, I don't think it's going to be a classic, but it will probably turn into one with Sod's Law being in play.
Fair enough. I'm going to go 2-1 to Millers. Positive win. Not as exciting as Danny's. But yeah, that home form, playing at probably the right time as well, I think. We've got to pick up points. Ideally wins. It's crucial to start doing this. Starting with, hopefully then, Chris Tether getting his Wednesday prediction early, because it goes get money on Wednesday to beat us 1-0 on Sunday. We'll talk about that next on Thursday's episode, Chris. Yoza thinks we'll win 2-0. John S says 2-0. CJ says 0-0. John says he'd love to say 1-1, but he fears it's going to be 2-1. Cheryl Stone says 2-1, as hopeful as ever. And Chris Tether says we're going to win, but then lose at Wednesday. Yeah. Shelley, really positive. Shelley says, let's be positive. We'll come out and get him from the off. Early goal, 3-0. Palmed going 2-1 as well. There you go. Positivity creeping back in. This is unusual.
Come on. We can do it. We can do this. Come on. Get on with it.
Anything else? We've covered a lot. We've managed to get 49 minutes out of an episode where nothing happened again. We are quite good at that, it seems. Anything else we want to mention very quickly, in 5 minutes or less?
Nothing for me, mate.
I will take that. CJ says, 1-0 Reds. If we score early, it may be 2 or 3. I think the thinking there is if we get at them early, they could maybe collapse. Which is what happened to us if they could get us early as well. Anyway, Shelley asked about Jamie Lindsay. Very unclear, to be honest with you. The Paul Davis articles are very positive, but there's seems to be no time frame in anything, which is probably purposeful by Matt Taylor and the gang, to be honest.
The only thing that concerns me with players coming back from injury is, number one, can they play centre half, and that's it.
Correct.
If Jamie Lindsay can do a job at centre half, get him back as quick as possible.
Yeah. Cool. Let's wrap up then. Thank you all for being with us. It has been a pleasure to talk about rain again. We will be back on Thursday for the review of the Coventry game, and we will preview the Sheffield Wednesday game. We're going to try and get a scouting report up. It will be up Tuesday at the earliest, because that's the earliest we're going to be able to speak to the Coventry fans. So watch out for that. I'll try and publish it correctly, unlike this Ipswich one, which got published almost as the game got called off. I'll try and fix that for next time. And then we'll get a scouting report. I've already tried to arrange a scouting report for the Sheffield Wednesday game, so we can learn all about them as if you want to, but that's what we'll do. So yeah, keep subscribed to the YouTube channel and make sure you've liked this video and like all the other videos that you watch on there, because that helps as well. Mick, thank you very much for being with us tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And Danny, as always, mate, thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Always happy to talk football for near enough an hour.
Thank you for watching. Up the Millers and stay dry.
Up the Millers.
Slides into Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Foderingham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box for Doffin, he can hit them, and he does. The Doffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.